Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Aaron Jarnigan. I'm the digital marketing specialist here at Grow Cedar Valley, bringing you another Grow Cedar Valley live stream. I'm really excited about this one this morning. Right now, with kind of the world that we're in, e-commerce is a very big topic. How do you sell products online, especially if you're a company who has a brick and mortar store? What's that transition process look like? How in the world do you get started? And then also, how do you promote your products so that it's a viable resource? So we have two experts with us this morning. We have Heather Seville of VGM Forbin, and then also Trevor Carlson of Fresh Fuel Marketing. Two experts who have a lot of great information to share. And so without further ado, I'll probably go ahead and get started with introductions. Heather, you want to start us off this morning?
Sure can. So I'm here from the Cedar Valley. I graduated from the University of Northern Iowa with a degree in marketing, advertising, and sales, and kind of one of those rare ones that actually went into marketing, advertising, and sales. So I've been around in this area for a long time. My background is in digital advertising and marketing with business development. And so before joining VGM Forbin here, I was at a national ad agency for about 13 years as a national account executive and business development director there, where I was working with some national automotive manufacturers to develop strategy and execute some advertising campaigns for them. And here at Forbin, I am the account executive here, but we're working in the healthcare industry. So I'm helping my healthcare clients across the nation work with how to put together digital campaigns and marketing strategies, and also websites and e-commerce platforms. Is kind of my spiel.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heather. We really appreciate having you here this morning. All right, Trevor, how about you?
All right, so I'm Trevor Carlson. Spent the last almost 10 years or so working in startup world, and a lot of that has revolved around digital marketing in different areas, and spent the last few years working on this business while hosting a podcast about my living out of a backpack and traveling around the world. And so our company really focuses on online marketing and websites, specifically through Shopify for food and beverage CPG companies. So that basically means if you go into Hy-Vee and you see a product on the shelf, that might be somebody we work with to help sell online, either through their website or through Amazon. So that's really our specialty.
Awesome. Well, both experts in your field. So again, we really appreciate the time spent this morning, and we can go ahead and get right into it. I guess so. The first question that I had, and where we'll start off with, is, I think this is kind of just a good nugget, but what's the first mistake or the number one mistake you see when working with a client who, maybe has an e-commerce website or wants to approach one? What's kind of the number one obstacle or hurdle that you most commonly see when working with a new client? Trevor, can we start with you?
Yeah. So a big one would be how you talk about your product is probably one of the main ones. So I would say there's two. It's how you talk to your customer about the product is typically from when you're making a mistake, it's from your perspective versus their perspective. You're like, I'm selling hot sauce, and then they don't really care what it is from your perspective. They want to know how your product is going to help them, what your product does for them, what their life is going to be like after using your product. So that's a big mistake that people make, is putting things out from their perspective versus the customers. And then the second is when they are building their first e-commerce site and rolling that out. A lot of emphasis is done on, design, and it's great when the website looks good, but the main thing has to be, can a person come to your site, find what the product and the information they need, and check out without kind of falling off during that process? A lot of people will maybe overcomplicate that right out the bat, or not provide enough information for them to make a buying choice. And then they lose a lot of customers that way. So I would say those two are the two biggest mistakes that people make. So making sure that they understand what you're selling, and then they're able to get from finding out who you are all the way to making a purchase as easy as possible.
Well, and I think you hit the nail on the head, with just marketing in general. I think a lot of people miss that it's not your perspective that matters. It's truly your target audience, figuring out, where they're coming from, what background knowledge they have, what their preferences are. I think that's a great point of, needing to be in the head of your audience more so than just trying to say we sell hot sauce.
Yeah.
Right. So Heather, what about you?
Well, that was some great points by Trevor. I echo those as well, because it really just in e-commerce in general, there are just so many things to consider. A lot of people dive into it thinking I can just put my pictures and put my pricing and some brief descriptions online. People are going to buy it. There is so much more to it than that, as Trevor was saying. But I guess on the back end side, one of the biggest things that I see is people just not understanding everything that they need to do to prepare for an e-commerce business. How are they going to adjust their team to handle the processes, to handle the e-commerce customer support that comes in with those order questions or returns, or even, questions about those products, and then processing those orders, inventory management, being able to control, are they going to have them in stock? Are they going to send them to a distribution center once those orders are made? Managing the pricing on there, running promotions. It's really just a whole new world. And it needs to echo what you're doing in the retail location as well, though. So just thinking through and understanding what this is going to change for their business, I guess, is probably just the biggest thing, because a lot of people just want to just dive in, start like Trevor was saying, start a Shopify site and just run with it. And there's a lot more that goes into it if you want to be successful.
Right. I think that's another great point too, is really thinking, you have to think through that whole process. And that's actually a question that we'll touch on later. But, I know that, restaurants in the Cedar Valley, when the COVID stuff really hit, a lot of them did transition well online, but the ones that made it easy to be online, go in and actually pick up the products, and the ones that didn't do so well were the ones that kind of made it clunky or not clean. And so that's very important that you think completely through that process. That's a great point. So the next question that I have is, what platforms are great places to start for business, or what's opportunities that they can look into? Heather, you want to go ahead first on that one?
Yeah. So obviously VGM Forbin does e-commerce websites, but that's not necessarily the e-commerce platform for everybody. Some other ones that some of my clients have looked at that I understand are some good starter ones that are easy to manage if you don't know what you're doing. Shopify is one of them. I've had some other customers look at WordPress's WooCommerce plugin for an e-commerce solution as well. But really, when you are looking at an e-commerce platform, I guess all I would.
Oh, it looks like she might have frozen on us.
Yeah.
Heather, are you still there with us?
Say it's just really, yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Okay, you're back. You're back.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
So, what I was just saying is it's just really important if you're looking at an e-commerce platform to make sure it is a good user experience. It has the features and functionality so you can showcase your products or services in a way that's easy for them to view and navigate and access to meet their interests or needs, easily, not have to scroll a lot, not having to navigate through a bunch of different pages. So really just look, when you're looking at an e-commerce platform, make sure it has the ability to show multiple images, videos, products or service options, even reviews, specs, and then have an easy checkout process. And then kind of on the back end, make sure you have a good understanding of how that functions. So it needs to be easy for you to be able to update those products, manage the inventory, be able to communicate directly with your customers through the order process, and then also being able to fulfill those orders after the fact too.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points. Great points. What about you, Trevor? You have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the websites much because I think Heather did a good job. The other thing I would say is looking at Amazon, and there's a lot of platforms out there for when you're getting started that give you access to a larger audience, other than driving traffic to your site basically from scratch. So Amazon is a great one. eBay. If you just spend some time, there are marketplaces out there where you can get your product listed depending on what it is. Same with services. There's usually some sites where you can pay a small fee to have your site listed there, or your service, and have traffic driven to your site that are actually people that are your customers that are looking for you. So I would say from getting started on just driving traffic to the website, that's going to depend on if you have a budget to spend. then definitely looking at like the social media ads platforms. So that means like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, all those. And just getting started, even if it's just like $5 or $10 a day, it's you're going to get a lot of information to figure out if people, they want to go to your site and buy your product. The other is if you don't really have a budget yet and you're looking at more like audience building things, there are a lot of places where you can really share your knowledge and expertise and drive traffic to your site without any out-of-pocket cost. So that'd be websites like Quora. I mean, getting involved on Instagram, just like commenting and getting into conversations there, Twitter. I mean, all these places you can go out and you can engage with your customers. One mistake I will say that people do make is they just start posting stuff and expecting people to come to their site and buy. And unfortunately, I don't think that's a very effective strategy. What you really need to do is figure out how you can either get them to come to your page or your site and engage with you, or you have to go to them and provide some level of valuable information, something that helps them. It's kind of like what I spoke about before, the what's my life like before I use your product and what's my life like after. There's definitely some exchange of information that can be somewhere in the middle there to help educate them and help them to even like find out that your product or service exists. So that's where I would say is getting started is if you have ads, run ads. If you don't have ads, get out and get involved in the communities, and then look at other platforms where people are already engaged around your topic.
That's a great point. And that actually goes in well to the next question. So how do you actually promote your online shop? And so I think, Trevor, you answered it well. I just asked Heather, do you have anything to add kind of to that promotion piece? Because I think, you can have a great shop if nobody knows it exists, and how are they going to be able to find it?
Right. Yeah. So, Trevor was talking about a lot on, just getting your name out there and branding and awareness too, to that general public. So I guess to kind of say on that trail, it's important that you have a really strong presence on Google. You can accomplish that with some paid Google ads for your products and services, doing some search engine optimization, some SEO work to help your organic presence on Google. And then also Google My Business listing is a source that's out there by Google, and it's important to make sure you have that claimed so that prospective customers can find you there. That can link right over to your e-commerce store. And then also those reviews on there go a long ways, especially if you are getting into this digital world and it's new to you. It's important that you have that set up and have some reviews out there from customers. So you might have to ask some of your existing customers, go out there and leave some reviews, as well as your Facebook page. That there are a lot of searches on Facebook as well anymore, and having a good presence there and having some reviews on there are going to reassure a lot of your customers that you are a good business. You take care of your customers. How do you handle returns? Those type of situations that you're going to get into as you get into e-commerce. But when you first launch your e-commerce site, it's important that you communicate that to your existing customers, because whether that's sending them an email or, posting on your social page for all those followers, or sending them out even a direct mail piece, it depends on, your industry and how your customers react to those different mediums. But it's important to let them know that now they can purchase those products from you online, or services from you online where they had to come in before. So especially during the last, 5 months or so, a lot of people want to be able to digitally, reach out to you without having to drive into your brick and mortar facility or retail showroom there. So letting them know that you have that now is going to be key, because for the first, say, 6 to 9 months, that is going to be the bulk of, where your sales are coming from, until you start getting some of those other ads. If you want to put some ad spend out there, like Trevor was talking about as well, to really engage those prospective customers. So anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents on, your existing customer base, making sure that you market to them and let them know you've got it now and why they should use it. Maybe even doing some promotions as well, giving them promo codes to encourage them to get in there and make it a habit for them to be purchasing from you, if that is the direction you're wanting to go with your business versus the, retail brick and mortar business.
Right. So I think just definitely, all the answers that I'm hearing, it's talking about, you really have to think about it from start to finish. It's not something where you just dive in with the website and expect it to work. I mean, you got to consider, when you launch the website, how are you going to promote it? And then once you get orders, how are you going to fulfill it? And so that really goes into kind of the last question that I have is, and I get, again, I think it's just that theme entirely, but what are, some of those key successful elements of an online shop, looking at fulfillment, or is it promotion, or, I guess just from your guys' experience, what are the little things that really matter as you're looking at selling things online? Trevor, you want to go ahead and start with that one?
Yeah. So little things would be, let's see. So one would be that this is something that's very common, is the math behind your like e-commerce business. Understanding what your numbers are, so you can, like what you can afford to pay to acquire a customer, and what your margins are, and the cost of everything. That's just something that's like really common for people not to understand those, and they might be getting sales, but if you don't understand your numbers, you don't really know how profitable those are. So you don't know if what you're doing is actually, building a business, or just costing you money out of your pocket. Other mistakes, I guess, are like little things that you can do is, especially when you're early on, you don't have to have some like robust thing built out. I remember when kind of like the COVID stuff started with like restaurants, like, some were talking like having their own apps built and things like this. And really, you don't have to go to that extensive. You don't have to build anything out that's that extensive. It's just like people could very easily have fulfilled or taken orders through like a Facebook Messenger bot or something, where there's no cost to set one up. You put it on your Facebook page, somebody can go to your page and say like, hey, click here to put in an order. And that messenger pops up, you say what you want, somebody replies on the other end, it'll be 30 minutes. They don't have to invest any money or anything like that in an app until they've seen it actually work using a free tool. So I think there's so many free little ways to do this. I just encourage people not to get caught up in building out a super robust solution until you kind of have an idea of, will this thing even work using like a mix and match solution you've made from free tools that are already out there.
Awesome. Heather, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice too. Because some businesses do kind of dive in, all into this e-commerce website and thinking that they need something very robust, when they need to kind of take it in phases and, kind of transition their business and their team. And so there are some free resources out there, but, I guess for those that are ready for a full website, I guess I can kind of speak to some of those things that you're going to want to look for. And I know we talked about this earlier, but making sure that your products have a ton of descriptions, sizing capabilities. It's covering their needs, not just, promoting your product. Make sure it's touching on what they're needing your product for, as Trevor spoke to earlier, and providing them the images and videos that they need to be able to fully see themselves with that product and understand the use of it. Because if they have to leave your site, go out to Google and find another image or find a video, you've lost them. So that is a very key component. Obviously, just some other things to think about as well is, what are your shipping prices going to look like? Are you guys going to offer free shipping? You're going to have flat rates? Because those are big decision factors when somebody's going to purchase from you or not, because of Amazon and Target and all these other big retailers that are getting really competitive with shipping anymore and a quick turn. It's something that you're going to need to be in the game on, if you are competing with some of those retail platforms. If you are in the industry that needs a lot of security, you're going to want to make sure that you've got fraud protection, transaction fees are covered on there, and you've got the data center to back that up with security measures in place. You're going to have your shipping policies, return policies kind of put in place. And then tax is another thing that people don't necessarily think about out of the gate, but you're going to need to identify, what tax rates you need to set, make sure that platform has the ability to account for those tax rates based on the user zip code or state at least. Otherwise, your accounting is going to have to do some reconciliations after the fact. And there are some third parties out there to do some of those integrations and calculate those for you. So just along that gateway, you're going to need a payment gateway to process those credit card transactions if you're going to use that, or a PayPal. Figure out who you're going to use to process those online orders, and then Do you need it to integrate and go into your CRM or billing system so your team can manage those orders there? Or are you guys going to be managing the orders and drop shipping them out to customers, or you send them to the distribution center? Those are just a very top level thing to think about, I guess, when you're thinking about e-commerce and all the little intricacies that go into that. So.
Right. Well, and I just know that there's just a ton of information that we shared that was really good information this morning. And I know that both of you would be more than willing to answer any questions, should anybody have any. I guess, just to wrap the conversation a little bit, you both just shared a ton of good information. Would you have any last, just second thoughts? And I'll just add to, for anybody watching, are more than happy to take questions in the comments and answer those. But do you have any last minute thoughts? Heather, we can start with you.
I don't know. I think we've been pretty thorough today in covering a lot of those things, whether it's, out in the marketplace and what your online presence needs to look like, because if you are going e-commerce, that is where your business is going to come from. So it's extremely important to not only have your site set up if you are doing an e-commerce platform, but even for those people that are going to be purchased from you elsewhere, it's important to have a really good online presence. So I'd make sure that is covered. And yeah, think about all those things we talked about.
No, awesome. Thank you. Trevor, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I guess one thing I would definitely add that I don't think we've really talked about much is, so with us, like we have to try to figure out how we work with a lot of smaller brands. We're not working with like the huge, big box companies. We have to kind of figure out how we can get someone to make a choice to buy one of our customers' products versus like some brand that they're really familiar with. And really one of the ways you have to do that is like by showing some personality, by showing like how you're unique and like, I know a lot of people hate to do this, but putting your own face in front of like your product as well. If that's a part of your brand, I mean, if there's some cases that won't necessarily be true, but you have to really be able to show how you're unique and different from your competition. That way you're just not competing on price. So don't be afraid to show a little character with what you're doing and put your face out there a bit with your company and product.
Yeah, oh, great point. And thank you both for doing that this morning. I know it's not everybody's favorite thing to do to hop on a live stream and share. But thank you so much again. This morning we have Heather Siebel from VGM Forbin, and then Trevor Carlson from Fresh Fuel Marketing. And we'll just be hanging out here for just a few more seconds as we just kind of wrap up this morning if there's any questions that come in. But again, just thank you both so much. Really appreciate the time spent and just the conversation. I always enjoy it. I just know that you provide a lot of valuable information. And again, for our audience, I'm sure that they'd be more than happy to chat with you and help you as you're working or as you're exploring the idea of e-commerce and actually selling things online. But again, just thank you both this morning. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So we'll just hang out for a few more seconds and see if there's any questions that come in. But I guess I'm curious for both of you. Do you guys remember the first project that you worked on? Like the very first one, like maybe it wasn't even good. I guess I'm just curious. Or like how you explored or found your interest for working in this field.
Yeah, I remember. I was an intern at Braceability with Sean Linderbaum, and I think he had like one employee then, and then then a group of interns, and now I want to say he probably has like 30 employees or something like that. So it was kind of cool. Spent a summer crammed into a small office like the size of a closet with 6 other people. So it's a good experience overall. It was kind of cool to see what it's like to see an e-commerce brand start from not quite from scratch, but pretty close, and then see like the things that they had to do and kind of the slow but steady crawl in increasing sales and getting more customers. So awesome. How about you, Heather? Do you remember your first project that you worked on?
Feels like forever. I don't. I was just engaged with what Trevor was saying. I'm trying to think of something that I've just been doing marketing and in digital ads and even traditional ads for so long, and it's intriguing to me because I love understanding consumer behavior and what makes them tick and what their hot buttons are and figuring out how to make our ads make them respond to that. And I also love analytics too. So, you know, I to try and understand that customer, I love digital because there's so much analytics. When I first started doing advertising, we were doing a lot of mail, you know, TV, radio, newspaper, and you really had no idea how it was working. So, I don't know, that doesn't answer your question, but it takes me back to the beginning when I first started and how advertising has changed and evolved and how we can get so creepy with some of our ads these days with targeting the right audience. So.
Right, you really can, especially when you bring in like locations and demographics, and especially when you have social media information on what people engage with. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But again, thank you both. We'll probably wrap up this morning. I haven't seen any questions come in. Again, thank you both for your time so much. And I just know anybody who's still watching, I'm sure both of these experts would be more than happy to answer any questions or talk with you about it, especially if you're pursuing e-commerce or thinking about it. You know, we shared a lot of good information over a lot of different things. There's a lot of stuff to consider. So thank you both again for this morning, and I hope that everybody has a good rest of your day, a good rest of your week.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Evan.